I used to be my big brother's shadow, always trailing after him, always looking up at him. He hated me for being the kid my mom brought into his life when she remarried, but I never learned my lesson. Even when he bullied me, I'd just bury my face in his palm and cry, sniffing, "Ethan, you are my favorite. I like you the most." Like no matter what he did to me, I'd keep loving him anyway. When senior year ended and college decisions came out, everyone assumed I'd stay in our hometown for school, keep being Ethan's clingy little sidekick, but I didn't. I picked the farthest possible option on my list. After we submitted our applications, my classmates joked around and asked where I was going. Before I could answer, someone laughed. "Do we even have to ask? He's obviously staying local." With how obsessed he is with his brother, he's basically a full-on brother stan. For real, and his brother treats him insanely well. Newest sneakers, limited edition collectibles, whatever he wants he gets. Parent-teacher conferences, his brother shows up. If it rains and he calls, his brother will literally drive to the school entrance to pick him up. Their tone was half teasing, half envy. Ethan had money, influence, and he spoiled his little brother. Who wouldn't want a brother like that? I just smiled and didn't deny it, letting everyone assume I'd stay local, when in truth, I'd already chosen Westbridge, the farthest school from home. 8 years of being Ethan Hart's good little brother, and I could finally see daylight. But before the acceptance letter arrived, I still had to play obedient. One call from Ethan, and I'd sprint home like my life depended on it. The estate was blazing with lights. Ethan had come back early from a business trip. The front door stood open like a predator's mouth, waiting for me to step inside. Lately, with nobody watching me, and with the thrill of almost escaping him, I'd completely cut loose, drinking, clubbing, staying out all night. To keep Ethan from finding out, I'd been sneaking out through a second-floor window. I never expected him to come home early. In his study, Ethan sat in a leather chair, flipping through a file. His brows and eyes were sharp and cold. The sleeves of his black dress shirt were rolled up just enough to look restrained, expensive, untouchable. When I walked in, he didn't even lift his eyelids. "Where were you?" The question sounded casual, but the pressure behind it was crushing. It was 2 a.m., and his good little brother had been sneaking out behind his back. There was no way he wasn't furious. The more scared I was, the sweeter I forced my smile. I crouched beside him, tilting my face up like I was trying to be cute. "Ethan, I swear, it was my first time. My friends begged me forever. I only went to sing for a bit." Only then did he lower his gaze to me. Usually Ethan loved it when I acted spoiled and clingy. This time, he didn't let me slide. He gave a quiet, humorless chuckle. "So now you've learned to lie to your brother too, Noah." Cold sweat broke out along my spine. He knew. Ethan didn't speak again, just stared at my collar, his gaze turning icier by the second. I followed his eyes and looked down. A smear of lipstick. Earlier at the club, I'd grabbed a girl who almost fell. She must have brushed against me. I was dead. "Ethan, it's not." I didn't even get to explain before he said evenly, "You are 18 now. You can date." His eyes fixed on that lipstick mark, like it offended him. Then he looked up at me again. His thumb brushed my lips, hard enough to sting. His finger slid into my mouth. I didn't dare bite him. I just parted my lips and let him do it. His eyes were dark, unreadable. Up until midnight, I'd had a puppy love thing once, and Ethan had cut it off immediately. He'd warned me, no dating before adulthood. Now I was an adult, but his reaction didn't look any more tolerant. I rushed to explain, "I am not dating anyone. I didn't do anything. It really was an accident." Look, terrified he'd misunderstand, I yanked my shirt up so he could see. Other than that lipstick smudge, there weren't any marks. Ethan's gaze paused on my lean waist and stomach, and his eyes dimmed slightly. "Take it off." I didn't overthink it. I lifted the hem and pulled my shirt off. Ethan's brow rose faintly, his gaze dropping to my belt, darker than before, like he was telling me to keep going. I felt awkward. Do I really have to? Shy? My ass. Maybe the alcohol went to my head, because I couldn't stop myself from snapping back. "Then, why don't you take yours off?" Ethan tugged the corner of his mouth, amused in a way that felt dangerous. "You want to undress me?" As if that was something a brother should say. I only dared to complain in my head. Out loud, I acted compliant. "If you tell me to, I will. We've got the same parts. What am I supposed to be embarrassed about?" I was confident in my body. I stripped down until all I had left were my briefs. Ethan sat there with his legs crossed, watching like he had all the time in the world. His expression stayed flat, like none of it affected him. That annoyed me, so I hooked a finger under the waistband and tugged it down a couple inches, just enough to be obscene without fully showing anything. I was satisfied to see Ethan narrow his eyes. Good. I definitely disgusted him. What straight guy wants to look at another guy's body? I licked my lips and asked in a syrupy voice I'd faked 1,000 times, Ethan, do you want me to take off more? No. Get out, and close the door. His voice was a little hoarse, like he was forcing something down. He looked away like he couldn't stand to keep looking. I almost laughed. I knew it. I'd grossed him out. I came to the Hart family when I was 10, with my mom. A blended family. Except, I'd assumed we were blending from one cramped apartment into another. Instead, we blended into a literal estate, like some hidden rare drop. Mom told me I had an older brother, and that I had to be good, listen to him, never make trouble. As a teenager, Ethan was ridiculously handsome, high nose bridge, sharp lips, that cold aristocratic air. I listened to my mom. I tried to please him. I became his shadow, chasing after him, saying the same line over and over. Ethan, I like you. But he stayed indifferent. I knew he didn't like me. One day, like usual, I went to his classroom to wait for him after school. Only to hear he'd left 10 minutes early. He ditched me because I annoyed him. It rained hard that day. I walked home alone, soaked through. By the time the driver found me, I was freezing. I got home and spiked a fever. Everyone hovered around me, but I only wanted Ethan. Ethan finally came, gracing me with his presence like I was some chore. He was the reason I got sick, and yet all I did was pitifully bury my face in his hand and cry, Ethan, you are my favorite. He'd heard that line countless times, like no matter what he did, I'd keep loving him. My burning cheek pressed soft into his palm. He looked down at me, his hand supporting my tear-soaked face, and for the first time he didn't reject my closeness. I whispered, Ethan, I like you. I'll listen. Don't hate me. Okay. Ethan, I am scared. Will you sleep next to me? I waited a few seconds, sure I had no chance, then I heard him answer, okay. His expression was still cold, but something in his eyes softened, like ice melting. I froze. That night, Ethan really slept beside me. I deliberately burrowed into his arms, breathed against his cheek. He didn't push me away. He let me cling. The next day, he got a fever too. The truth was, if I'd just waited at school, the driver would have come back for me. But I left on purpose. I even broke my kid's GPS smartwatch so I couldn't be tracked, then got myself sick in the rain, just to make Ethan feel guilty, and to try to pass my cold to him. I got more than I expected. After that, he stopped resisting my touch. He tolerated my closeness, gave me anything I asked for, as if he'd quietly drawn a line around me, and claimed me as part of his territory. My status skyrocketed, from the unwanted stepbrother to the treasure in his palm. The condition was simple. I had to be his good little brother. I still didn't escape punishment for staying out all night. The next day, someone came with tools and installed window guards on my room, ugly as hell. Ethan also moved my curfew up to 6 p.m. I was furious but didn't dare argue. Ethan was home resting, and I ate breakfast with him. He asked, "Where did you apply?" Here it was. My hand paused on my spoon, and I lied without blinking. Harbor City University. Major? Business. Ethan nodded lightly. The answer satisfied him. He'd always wanted me to study finance or business, and then enter the Hart family company. Too bad. My real choice was Westbridge University, computer science. I hadn't put a single hometown school on my list. Ethan wouldn't verify it. Everyone believed I'd stay in Harbor City for him. A staff member came in. "Miss Reed is here." Savannah Reed walked in a second later. She was the goddaughter of Ethan's late mother. Their mothers had been best friends. Everyone assumed Ethan and Savannah would marry eventually. Savannah looked perfectly put together. The first thing she did was greet Ethan. "Ethan, my mom asked me to bring you some wine." But the moment she saw me, her face twisted. Savannah liked Ethan, and every time she tried to get close to him, I cut in. If she asked Ethan to tutor her, I'd sit in Ethan's lap and watch. If she asked Ethan to go shopping, he'd take me too, holding my hand like I was a little kid. Most of the time she couldn't even get him to go. Ethan would say, "I am spending time with my brother." Back then, my thinking was simple. I wanted Ethan to spoil only me, so no one could steal my place. That way, my mom and I would have an easier life in the Hart family. But I didn't need that anymore. Seeing Savannah's expression, I was generous for the first time. Savannah, relax. I am grown now. I won't cling to Ethan anymore. I actually like you. If you became my sister-in-law, that'd be great. Ethan paused, then looked up at me, frowning like he was trying to read my face. But my expression stayed calm. Savannah stared at me like she'd seen a ghost. Really, considering how possessive I'd always been, like I was guarding Ethan from thieves, no one would believe this shift. Ethan's frown deepened. Noah, his low voice carried a hint of displeasure. What nonsense are you talking about? It's not nonsense. I grinned. I am your brother, not your wife. You can't stay single for me forever, can you? Ethan's eyes stayed steady on mine. The dining room went dead silent. Savannah sensed the tension, swallowed, and tried to speak. Ethan. Ethan said gently, you should go. Okay. Savannah looked relieved, set the wine down, and fled. Ethan stood up, and tossed his napkin onto the table. Noah. Upstairs. I'd always clung to Ethan since I was little, desperate to be the only one at his side. What I'd just said was basically character assassination, but I'd said it anyway. In his study, Ethan asked what I meant. I forced myself to say exactly what it sounded like. I am just your brother. I don't get to control who you date. Afraid he'd sense something off, I added. Of course, I want you to have only me by your side. But I know that's impossible. You'll date someday. You are not going to date me. I didn't realize how insanely ambiguous that sounded. In the wrong ears, it meant something else entirely. Ethan lifted a brow, a ripple, actual emotion, passed through his usually calm eyes. There was even a hidden flicker of pleasure. Then what do you want me to do? I pressed my lips together. I don't want to make things difficult for you. I just want you to have me in your heart as your brother. That's enough. I glanced at him carefully, performing the perfect look. 5 parts grievance, 3 parts stubbornness, 2 parts helpless acceptance. Like I was brimming with reluctant devotion. Perfect. No character break. Ethan tapped his finger lightly on the desk, like he was warning me, or warning himself. Noah. Some things, once you say them, you have to live with the consequences. His tone was a little harsh. I nodded and forced tears into my eyes. I know, but I just want a tiny spot in your heart. Am I not even allowed that? The performance was so convincing I almost believed myself. Ethan looked at my lowered lashes, the tears, and his gaze softened. Come here. Still wronged, still obedient, I walked over. Ethan turned his chair to face me and motioned for me to sit on his lap. I used to love sitting in his arms, because then he couldn't see my face, and I didn't have to fake how much I liked him. But after middle school, I rarely did it. Now it felt awkward. Ethan didn't seem to care, so I sat down, stiff. Ethan lowered his gaze, his fingers brushed away the tears at the corner of my eyes, and then the touch turned into kisses, small, dense, intimate. He kissed my eyelids, my cheek, the corner of my lips. What the hell? I stared, stunned, my mouth literally hanging open. In the blink of an eye, a soft, wet kiss pushed into my mouth. Our breaths tangled. The kiss deepened, tasting like Ethan's sharp, clean scent, winter cold and addictive. I could only take it, panicked, lifting my eyes to him, only to see raw desire in his half-lidded gaze, like a caged beast finally breaking loose. My brain short-circuited. I went blank, and let him do whatever he wanted. When the kiss ended, I was breathing a little hard. He held me close, fingers stroking over my reddened eyes, then down the tear tracks on my face, all the way to my lips, like he was touching a prized collection piece. I didn't dare move. Ethan radiated satisfaction. You didn't even need to see his expression to know his mood was good. His voice was low and coaxing, gentle like he was soothing a lover. Don't worry. My heart is the same as yours. I only like you. I fell apart internally. Only then did I realize how my words had sounded, petulant and resentful, like a confession. And the worst part was, he'd agreed. Ethan Hart liked me. Ethan used to keep a tight leash on me, but I was never truly obedient. The more I acted compliant on the surface, the stronger the rebellion grew underneath. I deliberately disguised myself as a girl who liked him. I hired someone to place a bottle of strawberry milk on his desk every day with a sticky note in my handwriting. I like you again today. At first, Ethan threw them away. Then, at some point, he stopped. He started drinking the milk, and keeping the notes. I thought I'd moved him, so I wrote bolder lines, trying to drag the perfect golden child Ethan off his pedestal. One day I even wrote, "I want you to hold me." According to my inside source, Ethan didn't react much. He just froze slightly, stared for a while, and put the note away. I was disappointed. I felt defeated. That night, Ethan had an evening class and got home later than me. When I went downstairs for water, I saw light leaking from his half-closed door. Curiosity made me peek. Ethan sat at his desk holding the note I'd given him that day. It was wrinkled, like someone had kneaded it over and over. Read it again and again. He stared down at it for a long time, then let out a low chuckle, lips curving faintly. His fingers traced the note lazily, casual, but with a strange, dangerous edge. On his desk was a box filled with sticky notes. All of them were mine. He placed the new note on top. I clapped a hand over my mouth and stumbled back in shock. Had Ethan actually fallen for that girl? I wanted to see him fall. I got what I wanted, but instead of satisfaction, I felt fear. If Ethan ever found out the girl didn't exist, that it was my prank, I'd die a horrible death. After that, I never sent him milk again. I started dating like my classmates did, only to get caught within 2 days. Ethan's expression that day was terrifying, like he'd been betrayed. It was the first time he'd ever been truly angry with me. The fear from that day never left me. I never dared cross the line again. I stayed his good little brother. I never understood why Ethan didn't go looking for the girl who wrote those notes, even though he seemed to love them. Even now, that box still sat in that same drawer. Ethan's misunderstanding acted like a catalyst. Our relationship shifted in subtle, frightening ways. Before, he indulged me and watched from a distance. Now, it became blatant possession. The curfew vanished. The monthly allowance vanished too. If I wanted something, I got it. Anything. But there was a cost. A brother and a boyfriend weren't the same. Ethan had always treated me well. Now he treated me even better, working from home so I wouldn't be bored, walking me through the Hart family's business empire, letting me pick whatever I liked, wherever I wanted to go. Curled in his arms, I thought viciously, "I want to replace you." And I didn't just think it. I said it. Ethan paused. I realized I'd misspoken and scrambled to fix it. "I am joking. Haha. How could I ever compete with you?" I couldn't compete with Ethan. Snacks, toys, anything in the Hart family. None of it was mine. My mom had warned me. Ethan looked calm as he tightened his arm around me. "Then study hard. I'll help you secure your place." I huffed, cynically. "Even if I secure it, I'll just be a puppet." Ethan wanted me to be ambitious, because then he could bind me with those things. People with no desires were the only ones who were free, but I still had to fake gratitude. "You are so good to me." That earned me another chain of kisses, and I couldn't help thinking Ethan had been single so long, he'd gone insane. The acceptance packet from Westbridge University arrived. I signed for it in secret and hid it. I didn't like going to his office, so Ethan would come home after handling important work and stay with me. At night, I found a comfortable position in his arms and watched a movie while his hand lightly rubbed my waist. He lowered his eyes and asked casually, "Still haven't gotten your decision letter?" I stiffened. "I got it." "Why?" My heart pounded. I was terrified. He'd noticed something. He looked relaxed. When he saw me staring at him too tensely, he even patted my cheek. "Why didn't you show me?" I pretended to be calm. "I put it away. What's there to see? I got in. That's what matters." Ethan lowered his gaze and went quiet, afraid he'd suspect me. I rolled over and kissed him first, my first time initiating. He paused, then pressed his palm to my lower back and kissed me back as if it were only natural. I was trying to distract him, so I went all in, sliding my hand up under his shirt, only to get caught. Ethan held my wrist, eyes half-lidded, voice rough and dangerous in a way that made my scalp tingle. "Don't. Oh, please. You touch me. But I can't touch you." I was angry inside, but I still obediently pulled my hand back. "Fine. I won't." I turned my face away and refused to look at him. Maybe because Ethan had spoiled me too much lately, I'd started daring to give him attitude. Ethan couldn't stand being ignored. He dragged me back into his arms and spoke to me low, intimate, almost tender. "If you want to touch, I'll let you. I am just afraid you won't be able to handle it. Understand?" It sounded like an explanation, like a question. I understood, and my ears went burning red. I went silent like a frightened little bird. I didn't dare think too hard about what I couldn't handle, and I definitely didn't dare ask. My classmates started receiving their decision letters one after another. When my friend found out I'd gotten into Westbridge, he was so shocked, he practically exploded. Are you serious? With your score, Harbor City U was guaranteed. Why apply to Westbridge? I replied, because I wanted to. Westbridge is good too. The question came immediately, did your brother agree? My fingers paused. This is my decision, it has nothing to do with him. What are you looking at? Ethan's voice came from behind me. I instantly locked my phone and turned with a bright smile. I was bragging to my classmates that you brought me to a tropical island for vacation. They're so jealous. The island was stunning. White sand, turquoise sea, palm shadows. The villa was a private heart property. From the window you could see the horizon stitching ocean to sky. Ethan really did seem to like me. When he saw my smiling eyes, something flickered in his gaze. If you like it, I'll bring you again next time. Sure, I said with a smile. Next time. There wouldn't be a next time. I'd already bought my plane ticket. Once school started, I was running. Being Ethan's little brother wasn't so bad. At least on the island, I was genuinely happy. Diving, surfing, collecting shells, tanning so much I got a shade darker. The next day I lay on the bed while Ethan forcibly applied sunscreen. He was way too meticulous. He even tugged my briefs down halfway. I jerked and grabbed the waistband. Ethan, what are you doing? Then I saw it. A harsh tan line at my waist. Everything was darker. Except my butt, which was still pale. Hideous. I'll go sunbathe more later, I muttered. Even it out, Ethan said. Then I'll put on some tanning oil. I blinked. Does that even work? Okay. Try it. Wait. Where are you putting it? Before I could react, my briefs were pulled all the way down. I struggled and failed. I told myself to just endure it, but Ethan's application started to feel very wrong, very fast. I was mortified beyond words, grabbing his hand. Ethan, there is no need to put it there. Like the sun can reach inside? Seriously. At some point it stopped being him applying oil and turned into us doing it together. My hand and his hand tangled. The oil was slick and hot, burning my palm like fire. Absolute animal. In the end, Ethan worked me until I had no strength left. I collapsed into his arms, letting him arrange me however he wanted. He asked, "Do you like me?" I wanted to cry. Yes, I like you the most. There were only about 10 days left before school started. The day we returned to Harbor City, Ethan was unusually silent. It started after a phone call that morning. My right eyelid kept twitching. Bad omen. Sure enough, when we got home, there was something on the coffee table. Westbridge University's acceptance packet. My breathing stopped. Oh, shit. Ethan lifted his eyes to me. His face was blank, his voice calm in a way that was terrifying. Explain. I always knew he'd find out. I just didn't think it would be so soon. With my secret exposed, I felt weirdly less afraid. I dropped the sweet smile I used to wear and met his gaze evenly. It's exactly what you see. I applied to Westbridge, computer science, and Harbor City University. I didn't apply. Ethan stared like he didn't recognize me. Why? I tugged my mouth into a smile. I didn't put a single hometown school on my list. You tell me why. Ethan frowned, warning in his tone. Noah, I cut him off. Because I am tired of pleasing you. I don't want my life to be decided by what you want. Ethan paused like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Pleasing me? I laughed. Yeah. You really thought I liked you. Me following you around, telling you I liked you. I did it so I could live better. That's all. Ethan went rigid. The color drained from his face. After a long silence, the room fell into an eerie calm. He lifted his lashes and looked straight at me with eyes like black water. Deep, lonely. You hate me. I do. I stabbed him with the cruelest words I could find. Was it satisfying? Yes, but when I saw how pale he'd gone, it suddenly didn't feel that satisfying anymore. Fine. Ethan didn't press further, maybe afraid of hearing more. He gathered all his emotion away. His eyes looked like a swamp covered in fog, dead water, heavy silt. Then keep hating me. When I first arrived at the Hart family, I was like an ugly duckling that didn't belong. Everything about that place made me uncomfortable. I liked Ethan partly because my mom told me to, and partly because I'd always wanted a brother. But Ethan stayed cold. I kept pressing my warm face against his cold shoulder, trying to make him like me. For his birthday, I folded 99 origami cranes, night after night, So late my fingers hurt. I drew little hearts inside and wrote small messages. The next day, I saw Ethan hand the jar of cranes to the housekeeper. Throw it away. Far. I froze. My throat clogged like something sharp had lodged there. That was the first time I truly understood how much he hated me. But I kept trying anyway. I learned a rule: if you don't put in your real heart, you won't get hurt. So I pleased him like it was a task. Ethan, in turn, let me take whatever I wanted. If it rained, he'd always come pick me up himself, like compensation. As long as I was his good little brother, he would keep treating me well, but I wasn't. He put me under house arrest. No going out, no internet. I felt like Ethan wanted to bore me to death. He didn't come home for days, like he was sulking. No solution, no conversation. My rebellion failed, so I trashed his room. I opened his drawer and found the box of sticky notes. Under it was a photo album labeled My Baby, signed by Iris Hart, Ethan's mother. Inside were photos of Ethan, and pictures of him with his mom. She was beautiful. She died from illness, though I never knew what. Half a year after she died, my mom married into the family with me. Who would like the kid their stepmother dragged in, especially when his mother had been gone less than 6 months? Looking back, Ethan's disgust made sense. I couldn't say who was right or wrong. I was just too young. Some words are too heavy, and when they land on too light shoulders, they shatter something. My sadness was real. I flipped the album, only to find that, later on, it turned into my photos. Me sleeping. Me running. Me roughhousing with friends. I stared, stunned. Ethan liking me suddenly felt more real. So many photos. When had he taken them? Pretty, isn't it? Ethan's voice came from the doorway. Strands of hair fell over his sharp brow bone. He looked tired. I asked, "When are you going to let me go?" He didn't answer. He walked in and sat beside me like my question didn't exist. This one. You failed an exam, got punished with copying lines, and fell asleep halfway through. Remember? A vein jumped on my forehead. Did you hear me? When are you letting me go? Ethan kept talking to himself. This one is your birthday. Your wish that day was to be with me forever. I snapped and threw the album aside, glaring. Ethan. Ethan lowered his gaze to the sticky note box. The album had knocked over. He picked it up. Why do you want to leave? You were the one who said you liked me first. I frowned. I said it was all fake? Fake? He held the box, his eyes dark and obsessive. Then why did you write me these? My mind exploded. I was shocked. He knew the notes were mine, and at the same time I couldn't refute him. If he'd always known, no wonder he looked betrayed when he caught me dating. By his logic, that was me cheating. Karma. I'd done something terrible to him too. Ethan's gaze shifted as if light moved through deep water. Do you remember what you wrote? I'll satisfy you now. My prank finally came back to bite me. Every note. Every moment. Everything except the last step. Because the note that said I want you to hold me was missing. I knew why. I'd gotten it dirty once and had to throw it away. Ethan started working from home again. Unless necessary, he stayed at the house every day, watching me. I felt like a bone guarded by a vicious dog. I had no moves left, so I decided to treat Ethan like air. He didn't provoke me either. It was his birthday. I suddenly dropped my cold act and suggested we celebrate, acting like nothing had happened, like it had all been a dream. Ethan froze, dazed for a second. I asked, "So, yes or no? I'll bake you a cake." "Okay." I finally got to leave the house. I bought ingredients, baked the cake that night. It was ridiculously sweet. I ate it. Ethan ate it too. More than me. I couldn't help pouring him a glass of water. "It's this sweet, and you can still eat it." He drank the whole glass and said, "It's good." Lying through his teeth, he looked at me and said suddenly, "I still remember your first birthday present to me. Those origami cranes." My hand paused. I didn't expect him to bring it up. My fingers clenched. My face went cold. Then, he said, "I am sorry." I stared. Ethan held my gaze, unblinking. My parents' marriage was purely business, an arrangement. My mother forced my father to marry her. She nearly died giving birth to me. And after she fell seriously ill, she spent her last days threatening him. He wasn't allowed to marry anyone else. Because if he did, she said someone would kill me. Then half a year later, you two came to the Hart family. The first time I saw you, I thought I liked you. But I was more afraid. I didn't want to become my mother, and I didn't want you to become my father. I kept my distance because I was afraid I'd like you, and even more afraid I'd hurt you. When I told the housekeeper to throw your cranes away, it was because I was scared I'd go dig them back up. But I still went looking. They were gone. I thought I could be ruthless, but I overestimated myself. I was wrong. I finally understood why the staff always looked uncomfortable whenever I asked about Ethan's mom, why my own mom had warned me never to ask again. Using your child's life to threaten your spouse insane. No wonder Ethan's need for control felt monstrous. Maybe the obsession was carved into his bones. As I looked at him, the knot in my chest suddenly loosened. I'd always wanted to hear him apologize. I forgive you. This time, I meant it. Ethan watched me. Light and darkness, shifting in his eyes. Okay. I put a sleeping pill in that glass of water. I escaped the estate. No one stopped me. Only a few days left before school started, so I rebooked my flight and went straight to Westbridge. Ethan didn't call once. Not a single text. Only then did I realize he'd known my plan all along. He let me go. He didn't want to become his mother, and he didn't want me to become his father. Life at Westbridge was pretty much what I'd expected. When my mom found out I'd gone there, she was shocked. She and Mr. Hart lived together on one side of the estate. I'd lived on the other side with Ethan. She didn't know what had happened between us. She only said softly, "Good, good, good." I didn't know why. Everything was finally going the way I wanted. So why did it feel like something inside me had gone hollow? Westbridge winters were brutal, way colder than Harbor City, and I caught a fever almost immediately. My roommate took me to the hospital for an IV. The next day I felt better, but my head was still heavy. My roommate asked what I wanted to eat. Half asleep, I felt like I'd gone back to childhood. I tugged Ethan's hand and mumbled, "I want warm baked apple." But the voice that answered was my roommate's baffled, "Baked apple? Where am I supposed to find that?" I didn't really hear him. I only understood that I'd been refused. "I want it," I insisted. Okay, wait, I'll try to find something." I don't know how long passed. When I woke again, there was warm baked apple on the tray table. It tasted good. While I was eating, my phone rang. It was my roommate. "I couldn't find any baked apple. Can you eat something else?" I froze. He couldn't find it? Then, who brought me this? I thanked him anyway, and told him to go back to campus, since I was fine. After hanging up, I found the familiar number in my contacts and called. He answered fast. I asked, "Ethan, did you come see me?" Ethan said flatly, "I already went back." He was still watching me. Of course he was. My heart thumped like it was being stuffed full, maybe with anger, maybe with something else. I rubbed my brow. "You really went back?" "Yeah," I gritted my teeth. "If you don't show up in front of me right now, I am not coming back for Christmas." Less than 2 seconds later, my hospital room door swung open. Ethan stood there in a dark coat, tall and sharp, his face unreadable. His eyes, black as ink, looked cool and detached, but the urgency in his movements betrayed him. He said, "Lo, don't say things like that." I smiled. "What if I insist?" He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he said, "Then I'll stay here in Westbridge with you." Fine. It went from me chasing him to him chasing me. I ran to escape being controlled. I wanted us to be equals, and because of me, he finally gave in. I realized I was in a very good mood. "Ethan, do you love me?" He answered almost instantly. Yes. He looked completely unembarrassed, open, honest. I adjusted my posture, pretending to be calm while my chest felt tight and hot. "Then treat me better. And I'll try to like you a little too." His lashes trembled, like he couldn't believe it. Maybe he thought our relationship was already a pile of ruins, and didn't expect any new life to grow out of it. He'd always believed I'd never like him. "Okay," he said. Later I learned Ethan had only been enduring it, holding back. But he couldn't hold back forever. If I refused to look back at him for too long, he would have clung to me like a ghost. Because I said I would like him, the creep in the shadows turned into a sunflower, leaning toward the light, but still obsessed all the same.